Good deal. I got a pretty cool T-shirt that I'm wearing today when I was at the Michigan Avenue Apple Store. I shouldn't call it the Michigan Avenue Apple Store. Now it's called Apple Michigan Avenue.
Oh, is it not the town hall? Is it like you just
No,
go there and you just
no.
hang out and?
They do refer to them as town halls, but if you read the BuzzFeed News article today with the interview with Angela Ahrendts, they're pretty specific that it's not. The town hall is not an official name. It's more of a conceptual thing.
Right. Okay.
No doubt that has been reinforced since they got a lot of blowback about it because it's kind of pretentious.
Yeah, it is a bit. It's still a store. I think they're lucky enough that British people call it an Apple store. I would never call anything else a store. It's a shop. Like, Apple have at least forced me to say store for everything.
Right,
for their stores. So they at least get that. I think they've done pretty well making it so all British people, we don't call it the Apple shop.
Right.
Because that would be ridiculous.
Well, what I do on Apple's behalf, they've trained me not to capitalize store anymore because it's not called the store. It's a lowercase store now. I'm still going to call it a store because that is in fact what it is.
Yeah. It's very, very strange. I get what they're trying to do because they do have the nicest stores of probably any brand. But yeah, I'm not going to start calling it. It's still the Apple Store, and I think everyone else is still going to call it that. So tech expert John Voorhees,
Yes.
You've been at the Apple Store a couple of times this week, 2 or 3 times, or I guess end of last week, whenever it was it opened.
Yes, I have. I've actually been there twice. I was there the day it opened on Friday of last week, as well as, I guess it was, today's Wednesday. I was there on Monday too. So the Apple Store, first of all, this is a little bit of a strange tale in that I hopped on a train. I had a very busy, weekend and week before with the Release Notes conference, and I hopped on a train on Friday, thinking, "Oh, the Apple Store opens at around 9. I'll be there just in time for the opening, and I'll, hustle down there, get down there, and go to the opening." And as I'm traveling downtown, I open up the page. They have a special dedicated page on the Apple website for the new Michigan Avenue store. At least they did before it opened. And I scrolled down to the bottom and it says opening at 5 p.m. And I thought, ugh. So I was already on the train. I thought, well, at 5 it'll start getting dark. I'll just go down, walk over to the store, take some pictures, and leave. So that's what I did. I went over, took a bunch of pictures, and as I was standing there, this woman kind of snuck up on me from behind and asked me what I thought about the store. And I thought she was just an office worker because there was a big office building right there, and she was asking me what I thought about it. And I was telling her a few things. And then I realized she's a reporter with the local ABC affiliate in Chicago. And she asked if I wanted to be interviewed about the store. So having just spent the morning researching the new store and having a bunch of those facts in my brain, I figured, yeah, sure, why not? So I spoke to her and ended up having my little, the little thing at the bottom of the screen there saying tech expert John Voorhees of MacStories.net. So that was kind of fun. I talked to her about a bunch of things, but the part that they used was the part where I just talk about the design of the store and how it has certain design cues from the Steve Jobs Theater because it was designed by the same architects after all. So it has some aspects of it that are a lot like that theater and some of the other recent stores.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. Annoyingly, the video isn't up anymore. But
yeah, I know.
The guy that they showed before you, they kind of asked him what he thought or whatever, and he just kind of went, yeah, the store looks nice, and then they cut to you, and you're like, wow, you see, the thing is, they're using the glass from the new campus, and I can only imagine that the reporter was just looking at you like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, I did end up correcting her because at one point she called the Genius Grove I don't even remember what it was, like the Genius something or other, and I said, well, actually, it's the Genius Grove. I gave her one of those internet well actuallys.
Oh no.
So it was, yeah, she did I think realize that she had stumbled upon someone who knew what they're talking about, because other than that, she was just going around talking to tourists, because this is in an area right on the north bank of the Chicago River, right on Michigan Avenue, which is one of the biggest tourist areas of the city. So there are a bunch of tourists and people going to their jobs in the morning. Not me, but I was just hanging around taking pictures, and so there mostly were people there just ogling the building, and I answered her questions, so that worked out pretty well. The building itself is really neat, because what they've done is built the store basically right into the bank of the river. There are granite steps flanking both sides that you can walk down to the river, and there are little benches built into them so you can sit there and relax, and trees that they planted. And if you go inside the store, it works the same way. You enter on this plaza, and you walk down steps to get to the lower level where all the action is. And even the grooves in the steps match whether you're inside or outside the building. So it's like one continuous line of steps that go from the top bank of the river down to the riverfront. And it's almost as though a transparent glass rectangle has just been dropped onto the bank of the Chicago River, and you barely even see it. I mean, I took some pictures that are on Mac Stories, and you can just see right through the building and see the boats on the river, and you kind of forget, other than the fact that there's this very thin carbon fiber roof on the building, you virtually forget that there's even a building there.
Yeah, it really does. It looks really impressive from your photos, and I've seen a few others that people have posted. It's kind of funny because although the inside of every Apple store kind of looks the same, you get these really nice kind of unique ones in certain cities, like obviously the new Chicago one, and the one in Covent Garden is really nice in London.
Right.
They really do a good job of kind of fitting them into where they are, because they could have quite easily just built a big building. You wouldn't have been able to see the river if you stood in front of it, but having the glass there and then having the actual store kind of below ground,
yes,
makes it a lot nicer.
Right, and the actual retail part where you go and buy things is tucked underneath the stairs, basically. So when you walk in, you wouldn't even know that you could buy an iPhone or anything else there, for that matter. You walk in and you look down the staircase and you see this enormous high definition screen that dominates the middle of the lower level, but you can't see any of the tables. It's not till you get to the bottom of the stairs and turn around that you realize there's this expansive area of the typical Apple retail tables there, where you can look at the Macs and the iPhones and the iPads and everything else. So that's kind of cool. I mean, the when you walk in, not only do you go down to go to the main level, but there's also seating kind of on this upper tier. So it's designed almost like an amphitheater. So when they have their Today at Apple events with artists and other people doing presentations, it can accommodate hundreds of people, both on these upper tiers as well as the lower level tier, to watch that sort of thing. So it's pretty cool. I liked it a lot, and I got a cool T-shirt, long sleeve black T-shirt with this strange new Apple logo. That's maybe I can throw a picture in the show notes of it. It's not like an Apple logo that I've seen before. I managed to miss Tim Cook and Angela Ahrendts because I think, as I said, I spent the morning there taking pictures and getting interviewed. But then I had to run home to record App Stories. And after I did that, I went back downtown again for a very long day of schlepping around the city because I wanted to get in the line and go inside. And the line, by the time I got back it opened at 5 p.m. and I think I got there at about 10 after 5. The line was thousands of people long. And
wow.
Yeah, but it only took, it took about an hour to get in.
Oh, was that all?
No, yeah, so it wasn't...
For the privilege of going into Apple's shop.
I know. It didn't take... So, based on the number of people I saw when I got there, I thought it was going to take a lot longer. And I ran into a couple of people. I ran into some people from Release Notes afterwards, and at least one person had come maybe a half an hour later, and by then the line was only like 20 or 30 minutes. So it wasn't too bad unless you got there right at 5 o'clock. And I don't know. It's a neat store. I think it does a good job of kind of capturing the culture of Chicago and integrating well with one of the big landmarks, which is the river. And I liked it. Today there was an interview with Angela Ahrens in BuzzFeed News, which I covered in Mac Stories, and it gives a good, I think, overview of what Apple's trying to do both in online and physical retail and their strategy. And Chicago's store was one of the examples because it's one of, first they worked on the online store, and now Angela Ahrens is really focusing heavily on the physical retail locations. And this is there have been some other flagship stores open before this, but this is one of the biggest new ones since they've moved their focus to the physical locations. And I think there are other ones coming online soon in Paris and Milan, which also look really cool.
Nice. Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to see it at some point if I ever come to Chicago, which I'm sure you'll have plenty of pubs and food to show me.
I have lots of things to show you. I spent my week at the release notes kind of showing the Europeans what Chicago's all about.
Yeah, it's they look at. Are you? Now we're talking about the Apple Store. Are you going to be going there on Friday morning to try and get an iPhone 10?
Well,
Oh God, I was joking.
I suppose that depends how online goes, Rob. I mean, I'm starting to get very pessimistic and concerned about whether I'll be able to get a phone. I have a strategy though.
Okay.
So the Super Mario Odyssey comes out at midnight, right?
Yep.
On the 27th. And the iPhone 10 goes on sale at 2 a.m. So I think I'm going to go to bed early that day and sleep till about 11:30, then play Super Mario Odyssey for 2 hours, order my iPhone, and then go back to bed.
That's the plan.
That's the plan.
What if you can't get an iPhone online, or what if it's like 4 weeks delivery by the time you get to it? Are you going to go down to the store? Because I mean, it's got to be a pretty busy store if it's kind of in the center of Chicago.
Yeah, I wouldn't go to that store. If I went to a store, I'd go to the one at the shopping mall, which is about 4 or 5 miles from my house. So that's what I do. But I hope I don't have to do that because it's getting kind of cold here this time of year.
Yeah, I mean, check you out, fancy. You've got a choice of Apple stores.
I
pretty much only have one.
Yeah, we've got a pretty nice one nearby. It's just your typical shopping mall Apple store, but it does well in a pinch. I did not tell you before we started, but I bought a product at the Michigan Avenue Apple store. I bought Beat X headphones.
Oh,
the Bluetooth,
because you've got AirPods at the moment, right?
Yes, but they took a bath.
You can kind of compare them between the two.
Yes, but those AirPods took a bath in the laundry not too long ago, which killed the case. And so, at a minimum, I was going to spend $70 replacing the case, and I really wasn't sure to what degree the fact that they didn't charge very well anymore was because the case was completely dead and only the headphones were holding a charge, or whether they were both semi dead. So instead, I've also AirPods. I like them a lot, but they don't fit super well with my ears. So I thought the Beat X would probably be better for exercising and just staying in my ears. And I bought those on Monday, and I've only used them once so far because I don't leave the house much anymore. But they seem good, and if I ever get around to exercising again, I think they'll be perfect for that.
Cool. Well, at least you bought something in a new store. Your wait didn't seem like it was just a wait to look at the store.
Right, and I did feel like I was probably making a mistake because I do know that the Beat X headphones are available on Amazon, unlike a lot of other Apple things, and some of the colors of them are a little cheaper, and Chicago is known for its high sales tax. On the other hand, I thought, new Apple store, I should just get them here and have them now so I can listen to them on the way home.
Why not?
Yep.
So, talking of other products, I can't see either of us buying this. But Amazon just kind of out of nowhere today announced the Amazon Key and an Amazon Cloud Cam with Key. I think maybe the cloud camera's already a product, but they seem to be implying it's a new one specifically for the Amazon Key.
Well, it's both, really.
Right.
As far as I can tell, there are certain things about this product that are a little vague and not entirely clear. For instance, the apps that control them have not been released yet, so it's not really entirely clear what all the features are. But they're selling the cameras separate or with the service, which is U.S. only and available to Prime members.
Now, that's interesting that it's Prime. I mean, of course, it's US only.
Right. I'm not sure if the cameras are U.S. only. That I wasn't able to figure out.
Yeah, I certainly didn't see them on the Amazon, on the UK Amazon earlier this afternoon. So I think maybe they are just US only. But
did you search for the camera? Because I know, like, there's a special Amazon devices page, and even in the US, the camera's not showing up on that page yet. You had
I am searching right now.
Search for Cloud Cam.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not on UK Amazon, so I'm guessing it's not a product I'm going to be able to buy right now.
Yeah, I mean, the downside of those cameras is that there's no battery in them, so they have to be plugged in, which I think is definitely a limiting factor for a lot of people, depending on how your house is set up. But they're selling them like they do the Fire tablets. You can buy one, or you can buy them in bundles. So I think one of them is $119.99, so $120, and then you can buy 2 or 3 at a time. I think 3 is like $290 if I'm remembering right. I just wrote about it, but so you can buy them in bundles. They are 1080p cameras with a wide-angle lens with Alexa support, so you can talk to them. They have dual audio, so you can use an app to, if someone walks in your house and they're walking by the camera, you can spook them by saying, "Hey, you."
That would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be good for punking
I mean,
people.
I'm kind of in the market. I'm kind of looking around for, cameras, Wi-Fi cameras and with speaking and two-way speakers and stuff like that. This would be perfect, but of course it's Amazon, so they're gonna test it in the US, and it will either get completely discontinued and we'll never hear about it again,
right?
Or eventually they will release it in the UK.
Right, and it's kind of, as a camera goes, other than the fact that it needs to be plugged in, it looks pretty nice. I mean, it's at $120. That's pretty competitive price, I think. But the real news, I think, is that they're combining that camera with a service called Key, and Key is an in-home delivery service. So you can buy the camera bundled with a smart lock too. So there are, at least and this is US only again, and it's even limited in the US because it only works with Amazon Logistics, which is their in-house delivery service, which is only available in 37 cities here.
Okay.
Including Chicago, but I'm not sure how far it radiates out from Chicago, Chicago proper, like the suburbs where I live. I think it does, because I'm pretty it's never clear to me, because sometimes I get things delivered by UPS, sometimes it's just a guy in a white van, which I think is the Amazon Logistics person.
Yeah, it sounds like that's what it is. In the UK now, pretty much everything I buy from Amazon is from Amazon Logistics, and as you say, it's unmarked white van, because I get the impression a lot of the drivers are they're actually just contractors. They're getting paid per delivery. They don't actually work for Amazon, which is why they've all got kind of unmarked vans, because the vans they just belong to the drivers.
Right. So it's just increasing the creepiness of our neighborhoods, right?
Sure.
Unmarked panel vans all over the UK and US. But so the way it works is, for like $250, you buy the camera and you buy a smart lock, and when you order something from Amazon, you can choose to have it delivered using the Key service. And what happens is, when the driver comes up to your house, they scan the barcode on your package. It goes up to the cloud. If everything checks out, it unlocks your door automatically. All right. And so presumably you're not home, you're at work, wherever you are, school, whatever. And the driver opens the door a crack and shoves in your package. And and it was fun. It was very funny reading this on The Verge, because The Verge is like, oh, the people are instructed to, not go in your house if they can avoid it, and to just open the door only as much as necessary. They kind of, shove the package in. They knock first. Mainly, I think, for their own safety, to see if there's like a rabid dog on the other side.
I was going to say, this is what's going to happen. Dogs are going to escape, and
dogs, people with guns. I mean, think of this in America, for instance. And this is U.S. only, after all. So they shove this package into the crack in your door, and then they close the door. They swipe on their app, and your door locks back up. That requires a lot of trust.
Yeah, I when I initially saw it, I did say to Kyle on Twitter, I said, "Oh yeah, I want it." Like I liked the idea of it, and then the more I thought about it, and some Louis and somebody I work with said to me, "Well, hang on a minute. If you're allowing them to access to your house to deliver the package, if they do anything to your house, they're not trespassing. Like somebody who would break into your house, obviously, the crime of breaking in, that's enough to be a crime, but." If they do, for some reason, come in and steal something, you've given them access to your house.
Right. And when you do all this, I mean, the reason for the reason the camera is part of it is that it activates the camera and it starts recording. So you, wherever you are, say you're sitting at your desk at work, you'll get a notification, and you can open up the app and you can watch the guy shove the package, the guy or the gal, shove the package into the door and lock it back up. So you can kind of watch. Although I'm not really sure, if you're sitting at work, what real benefit that is, because you could also just watch the person come into your house and steal something, I suppose.
Yeah.
but that's how it works. And I kind of had the same reaction. It seems really nice in the sense that, especially if you live in a place, when I was in the city, you always worried about packages being delivered and being stolen by somebody walking by if they were left on a door stoop or something. Not such a problem in the suburbs where I live now, but that is definitely an issue in a lot of parts of the country. And there's an appeal to having someone be able to just put it somewhere that's secure. On the other hand, I wouldn't just give some random delivery guy the keys to my house. I mean, I might give them to a trusted neighbor for when we're out of town. I might give them to someone who's maybe, house cleaners, or I don't know. But I wouldn't normally just hand over my keys to some guy in a white paneled van.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. This is a terrible idea. I take back my tweet. I don't want this now. I mean, I send everything to work anyway, because I'm lucky enough that I can just send everything there, and somebody will deal with it. There's like 10 offices around where I work. Somebody will sign for it. I normally get notifications. I've just got to kind of wander around until I find where my parcel went. But I haven't lost any yet. So
yeah. No, I'm just kind of playing a wait and see. I don't think this is something that I would use. I've always felt that smart home locks on your doors is a little too fiddly, that you're better off with an actual key that you turn in the lock. That I was just at release notes. Stephen Hackett had gotten an Airbnb that had one of these smart locks, and it was a pain in the butt to get inside every time. It was finicky. If you typed in the code too quickly, it just wouldn't work. Or if you typed in the code and turned the handle too quickly, it wouldn't work. You had to kind of learn how the thing worked. You had to type in the code, give it a half beat, listen to it, turn whatever it was turning inside, and then turn the handle. And it would have been much faster just to have a key. I mean, I understand why Airbnb does that, but I'm not a big fan of smart locks, at least as they exist today. And I'd rather some other early adopter figure out whether or not this service works or not before I ever jumped in with 2 feet on it.
Yeah, I think a better solution would be, certainly for people who buy a lot of stuff on Amazon, maybe Amazon could just send me some kind of lockable box that only their drivers have access to with a little key code. That would be better. It's like my own personal Amazon locker. I just keep that somewhere near my house. That might be a better solution.
I think I saw a Kickstarter of something like that at some point, which was like a box like that was secure, that people could open with a code. But it's Kickstarter hardware, not something.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
It probably doesn't actually exist in real life. So
no, definitely not. Was there anything else? I think that's probably it. It's been a reasonably quiet week. I mean, it's the Apple Store, and you've been pretty busy with release notes. But the Amazon key luckily came out just before we were going to record, a few hours before.
Yeah, no, release notes was a lot of fun. There were a lot of people here. It's always good if anybody is ever wondering whether that's a useful conference to go to. It is. It was well attended by a lot of people from all over the world and a lot of great talks, which was a lot of fun. And we, other than some very bad rain early on in the weekend before the conference actually started, the weather was beautiful in Chicago. So I think a lot of people enjoyed themselves here.
Yeah, certainly. I saw a lot of pictures and photos and videos and stuff, and it looked really good. So yeah.
All right, Rob. Well, I think that's probably enough for this week. Why don't we, I guess we'll reconvene in 2 weeks and cover some other stuff. I don't know. Something will come up in the next 2 weeks to talk about.
Oh, I'm sure it will. Well, we can find out what happens with your iPhone at least.
Yes, that'll, I expect lots of tears and sorrow.
Yeah, I'm very concerned that there are a lot of people who want one that just are not going to be able to get one at all. Probably not before Christmas at this point.
Yes. Well, fingers crossed. Let's see how it goes. And yes, by then I'll either be eagerly awaiting it showing up. Although I guess it will show up by then.
Yeah, it should have been. But
all right.
we will see. We'll catch up on that next episode.
Sounds good.